Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney. Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life podcast. Austin Linney here. We have the pleasure of having Mr. Lee Yoder here. I don't know why I said Schroeder almost, but Yoder. How you doing, my brother?
Doing great. How you doing?
Doing good, man. So we've never officially met. I saw your post on LinkedIn, and I had a great idea because you did something. Was it Wednesday? Was it yesterday or the day before?
Yes. Yesterday was my last day. Yeah.
You did something that people spend all their goals, all their money doing, and fight. What did you do yesterday?
Yesterday was my last day with my W-2, my job. So I was able to quit my full-time job yesterday.
And
to go into real estate full-time. Take on another full-time job in real estate.
But it's your job, and that's what's important. Right. So just paint a picture, and then we'll dive into the podcast part of it. The feeling, right? I'm sure there's like a lot of emotion, but also like, holy crap, we're here. I mean, I would imagine it's a whole,
yeah, absolutely. There's all those things because I'm a risk taker and a gambler. Maybe that's obvious, having done this. My wife's is not. So when we've been talking about this, for a good year, it's been very easy for me to talk about, like, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to quit my job, and then we'll be full-time in real estate, and I'll work for myself, and it's going to be great. And like the closer it got and the more real it got, I started having those, some of the feelings that she's been having all along. I'm like, this is kind of crazy, that like, how does this work? What if it doesn't work? So yeah, there were all those feelings. I mean, and so when it really, yesterday, I'm a home health physical therapist. So I was going out and doing my I only had one visit yesterday, but going out and seeing a patient, for physical therapy treatment in their home, for the last time, it's one of those things, like it's still sinking in. I just still feel like I need to be scheduling patients to go back out and see them. And I'm like, I don't have to. That's something I always do the night before. So like just not having that to set my schedule. I didn't have to set my schedule for today. Last night, by calling patients, I get to, decide for myself what I want to do. And it's more than that for me, Austin, too. Like, because I still want to work. I woke up at 4:30 this morning, ready to go. But I'm doing all the stuff that I'm really passionate about. So it's really so much more of that for me. Now, I'm at home. I was home for lunch today with my wife and my son. My daughter's at school all day. But, so it's all those, it's awesome that way. But really, I have so much excitement that I get to work full-time in something that I love, almost more than the excitement of like quitting my job, because I still want to work. But yeah, the fact that I get to, call the shots and do something that I'm really passionate about, that's really exciting for me.
And the reason I wanted to highlight it is, about a year or 7 months ago, I finally believed in something strong enough to leave a 20-year career in hospitality and everything. And we had a lot of success early, and then I lost a lot of money. but as my coach would say, you have to believe in something so great that it almost, as he would describe it, like rocket ships you out of this comfort zone level. And I think the reason I describe it that way is because I think that's where a lot of people live most of the time.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So you have to almost like, and that's why I think it's funny, because it sounds great a year ago. And then I'm sure the last month it's been like, oh shit, what are we doing? Right. But at the end of the day, there's so much excitement that can carry you right for the first couple of months. But let's back it up, because I want to talk about how we got here. Right. So kind of share your story, start where you want to, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah. So I left like a busy but well-paying corporate job 4 years ago, knowing that. So I went, I was in the office making really good money, but being very busy. So really no chance to do anything in real estate, but I didn't have my mind toward real estate at the time. But as I was thinking, maybe I wanted to leave this corporate job because it just wasn't a good fit for us as a family. That building your lifestyle, it was not a good lifestyle for our family. It's not what we wanted. I enjoyed the work. While I was at work, I really enjoyed it. I didn't have enough time at home. We're building a family. We have young kids. My wife was kind of drowning as a stay-at-home mom. And so I knew I wanted to make a move. So 4 years ago, I went back into home health physical therapy, where I knew I would have the time and energy and capacity to get into real estate. Because while I was thinking about leaving, somebody turned me on to real estate, read The Rich Dad, Poor Dad, went down that rabbit hole and was like, yes, okay, this is what I want to do. So I left 4 years ago. I took about a year to really get into it. 3 years ago, I started in real estate, investing, flipped a house. So that's not investing, just flipping, but did that, flipped a duplex. And then it was just a year ago, Austin, that I bought, well, a little over a year ago now, it was last August of 2019, that I bought my first 16-unit apartment building.
Okay.
Just my in-laws were a money partner on that. And I had a mentor that I gave some percentage because he helped me get started. And then a month and a half later, we bought an 8-unit. And then like a month and a half later, we bought a 10-unit. And it's really just been this past year, we've been repositioning those 34 units between 3 buildings. And originally my goal, Austin, like a lot of people, was I need to replace my income, right? And, I think that's a great goal. It takes a long time. So when you're buying multifamily, even single family, it does take a lot of units to actually replace, because we live in the Midwest. We are frugal. We probably only spend like $50,000 a year. That's mortgage, everything. I mean, we bought in 2012. We've got our mortgage payments like $650. It's ridiculous. So our expenses are very low, but still $50,000 a year. Or actually, our number was 60, and that's being very conservative. But our number was 60. So $5,000 a month in income. That it takes a long time to get there. So my thought process started changing, and plus this market's crazy. So really what I ended up doing, Austin, was I said, okay, what if I sell 1 or 2 of these apartment buildings? Because we did so much to add value. Would that give me enough of a runway because you go, okay, I need $60,000 a year. I need to get that in passive income. Well, we had an opportunity on one of the buildings, just one of them on the 16 unit, for my wife and I to make enough to pay our expenses for 2 years. So that ended up being the plan, was to sell the 16 unit, take out everything, because we basically doubled the value of that property and use that as the runway. So the 16 unit closed 2 weeks ago, and I put my 2 weeks in on that day that we closed, and we got the check. So and then the 8 unit, the appraisal is next Monday. The 10 unit's a little ways away, but we're actually going to sell the 8 unit too. So we kind of exceeded our goal. The 16 unit would have done enough for us to give us.
That's way better. Tear it up.
For a minute.
Yeah, no worries. So you said the 16 unit would have gave you enough, but you decided to sell the other one?
Yeah. So we're selling the 8 unit as well, so it'll give us even more of a cushion. So now, and I acknowledge this is a little bit more risky, but basically what we've done, what we've set ourselves up to do, is we're going to have enough money in our account to pay our expenses for at least 3 years. So I've got 3 years to get this thing going, to get enough other ones. We're under contract on a 45 unit, but we want to keep building. So because it does take a lot of time, but now we've got the capital to work with. We've got a team, we've got investors to go after these bigger apartment buildings to build up that passive income. But, as you'll hear from a lot of people, when you're buying multifamily, the cash flow, it doesn't make you as much as some people think. Really, your net worth is increased when. Yeah, I was just saying that, like, the plan changed a little bit too. Instead of replacing our income through the monthly passive income of the rental units, we sold and realized all the income, all the equity to set us up with this runway to now build up our portfolio to get that passive income number.
No, I 100% agree. And this is something I rail on. And I just had this conversation with a buddy the other day. And I think this is one of the more important conversations that will ever be spoke about on real estate. Is too many people. There's a couple of things I want to hit there. One, he had the opportunity to leave a job with a toxic environment, And his big concern was replacing the income that he spent his whole life working up to. And what I was trying to
Right.
explain to him is, yeah, but you're also 43. Let's talk about the lifestyle you're going to lead. And if you're happy with your environment and maybe you make
Yeah.
20 grand less, who gives a shit? Right. But there's
Right.
but there's an ego play where I worked forever to get up here. But if you had something else, meaning real estate or something on the side, that could supplement that income where you could have the lifestyle you want.
Yeah.
Now to touch what you did. Somebody dreams their whole life to get the 34 units, but understanding that you can leverage out those units to give you the runway that you need to go buy bigger properties. And they want to hold on to it and cherish it because they want to talk about, well, I have this many units. That's not important. What can the units do for you? Well, what it just did for you is it just gave you back 3 years of your life. You know, I mean, so like you have to look at it from that context. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, just to, I'll just give you some pure numbers on the 16 unit, with things we're doing really well because we totally turned it around. So it was, and we have it professionally managed. It was functioning really well. So, we're set to make, my wife and I, our portion, because we have 55% of it, with our investors. Let's say we were going to probably cash flow about $15,000 per year.
Okay.
So that's a great start, right? That's a start because like I told you, we're trying to get to 60 per year.
Mm-hmm.
So 15, great. We can do that. What is that? 3.5 times, 4 times, and we're there. But yeah, 4 times. But it's going to take some time to get 4 more, especially in this market. Where are we going to get them? But also, like I said, we're going to make about, I don't know, 110, 120, somewhere in there when all the dust settles. So to me, it's like, yeah, so we can make 15 a year. In 5 years, we've made 75. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're still not there. In 9 years, 90, 40, we're close. So it's going to take 9 years to make the cash flow that we could make when we sell. Now, yes, you do pay taxes. It's long-term capital gains tax. So it's only 15%, but you got to factor that in. But I'm looking at it like, yes, it's going to make us great cash flow. But if I can make today, let's take out the taxes. Let's say it's 7 years. If I can make or 6, if I can make today what I can make over the next 6 years, what can I do with that money over the next 6 years? Mm-hmm. Double it, triple it, quadruple it, right? By doing this again and getting into more. So it just became this thing. Yeah, that 15,000 a year is good, but I just believe in the velocity of money. If you can sell, realize that income and put that to work and do something with it. Now we have to live off of some of it as well, but during this time we can put it to work for us. I think make a lot more than we would just holding on to it.
And also, not to get too, well, I don't mind because it's my show, but mindset wise, it also gives you this added benefit of understanding that there is not an option, but to create more wealth from that wealth. So you're almost like positioning yourself in a corner, knowing who you are to like drive you forward, which people don't do enough, right? They just live in comfort, air condition, all these things, Netflix.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, here's the thing, this is what I wanted. So in order to do that, I've got this capital to work with. Now I'm going to go out and make more capital with my capital.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. That's so true, Austin, that I want that pressure, but also that I can now singularly focus on that. My job in physical therapy, it didn't take a lot away from me because it's not something, I had to think a lot about, but it's still, I'd be focused on the real estate. I would have something going on and then I had to leave and go do some visits. So I couldn't really solely focus on that. Now that that's my sole focus, I can put all my energy, all my passion into that. I'm confident that the results will follow, that we'll be able to do so much more now.
And something, how many kids do you have?
2.
And something that's not talked about enough, because dad is living for dad and he's fully invested in what he's doing. He's going to be, not that you're in a bad mood, but you're going to feel more fulfilled. So that in turn makes you a better husband, a better father. Yeah. You can be more present. So there's so many things that's not talked about, because I don't discount a W-2 job. That's where people get it messed up. Entrepreneurship is the hot ticket item. But I have friends that make $300K a year and they don't have to do much. And I'm like, just keep the damn job. Like, leverage out the partnership, right? Like, because I did an Airbnb talk last night. That's my specialty. And I think people don't understand the different classifications of investing and what how much it taxes your life in different ways, right?
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
I mean by that is if you're going to get into wholesale, you can do it as an older person with kids and everything, but that's really a young man's game. Airbnb is not for somebody that has multiple jobs, a bunch of kids. It can be done. Of course it can be done the right way. But we don't look at, my big thing that I always say is people build a business and then they build a lifestyle around it instead of deciding what their
Yes,
lifestyle is and building a business around the lifestyle. Right.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and I think to your point, Austin, there's people where, working a W-2 gives them the lifestyle they want. Because like you said, if it's not real stressful, if you like leaving at the same time every morning, getting home at the same time, you have dinner with the family at that time, and it's relatively stress-free. Because I'd say being an entrepreneur, I think I'm going to have a lot more just financial stress because the burden is all on us. With the income of the physical therapy, it was just always there. I knew what I had to do. I had to go out and see some patients, and I'd get paid. And now that's not going to be the case. So, but and I love the idea of your podcast, Austin, and the idea behind it, because that's exactly what my wife and I have talked so long about is, what do we want our life to look like? Let's start there. And I think you're so right. That's where you want to start. And for us, we homeschool our kids. My wife stays home. We have, some acreage. We have some chickens. We like being home. We want to have this life at home. I want to be home and be a part of that. I want to have the flexibility. But again, I really like to work. So I like to work. I like to work plenty of hours, but we want to have the flexibility and then control. With our kids being homeschooled, that gives us a lot of control. They still go to school 2 days a week. It's like a hybrid program, but it's Tuesday and Thursday. So we have 4-day weekends every weekend. And like, we want to go out and experience things and do things. And, when you work for yourself, you can do that. So we want to work very hard. And another thing that's kind of cool with real estate for us is like my wife and kids can be involved in it. So they can, we can work as a family. We can kind of be a team and go that way out. So I love that idea. And that's really what's led us to this point, is that we wanted to build a lifestyle, and going full-time into real estate, being an entrepreneur, is allowing us to have the lifestyle that we want.
Yeah. It's funny, right? Because, I think I asked you when we messaged, like, are you going to take a day to like, let it sink in? And you're like, no, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Because something that cracks me up is like, I travel a bunch, like a lot, my dream is to own properties all over the world. But like when I'm in Costa Rica, like visiting my coach, and like I'm down there, like I'm looking at real estate, like I'm looking at, I met some brokers down there, maybe a hotel in the future, like something like that. Right. And people text me and they're like, dude, just enjoy your vacation. Like, I don't understand what you're doing. And I'm like, you don't get it. Like, this is my lifestyle. Like, if it's Sunday or Monday or Tuesday, I might not be buying, but I'm always looking. I'm always listening. I'm always hearing. And it's the same thing that I view fitness. Like, I've lost a bunch of weight after I got sober. Like, I heard Brandon Turner say this, and I thought it was so poignant. When we set goals on fitness, we're so worried about like how much we're going to bench or what weight we are and everything. He's like, my goal was to be a person that worked out every day. I didn't say I worked out 5 minutes or an hour. I said I worked out every day and I was a healthy person. And when you build that framework, then it's pretty easy to succeed. And it becomes who you are.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The results will follow. That goes into, in physical therapy, I was always teaching people that idea, like, this just has to be a lifestyle. And once it becomes a lifestyle for you, then you'll actually do it. I say it's got to become a pattern. You won't, back to the working out thing, but I think work thing. And I'm so similar, Austin. Like I said, I keep saying, like, I really enjoy working. So it's never my goal to stop working, but I want to work when I want to work. I mean, there's times that on a Saturday, it really makes sense to get some work done. Whereas on a Tuesday, it doesn't. On a Wednesday is one of our big homeschool days. So that's my morning with my son while my wife homeschools my daughter. So I take all Wednesday morning off. So that's what works for us. Whereas Saturday might be a better time to get work done. And so again, just having the flexibility of schedule and being able to create our own schedule and our lifestyle allows us to do things like that. So again, I'm not working less. I'm not being overworked. I don't want to be one of those guys. To me, what's the point of like, oh, I quit, but I'm still working 100 hours. I'm not doing anything like that. I'm working hard. I'm working, 40 to 50 hours a week. That's it. I've got plenty of time with my family, but it's on our schedule.
Well, put it this way, and you'll understand this because you're a physical therapist and you've seen it. I'm getting older. I turn 39 next week. I work out a lot. Like I'm doing 75 hard right now. I'm a cyclist. I train
Mm-hmm.
for Ironmans. We,
Nice.
especially alphas, we do the things that we see that moves the needle, but yet we discredit stretching and a rest day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we don't see the value in it until we get
Mm.
old enough to understand that ultimately the rest day and the stretching actually makes you better when you work out, right? And so that's in life in general. And what I mean by
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
is you can take off a Sunday, and I promise you, if you take your foot off the pedal, you might be more rested headed into the week, right? And this is the number one
Absolutely.
thing I've had to teach myself because I am a hard charger, but
Mm-hmm.
I wound up overscheduling myself, and I get flustered, and then I have to reel back. So this is like the number
Yeah.
one thing I work on, if you
Yep,
understand that concept.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I'm personally, I'm a Christian, a Christ follower, and I think God gives us Sabbath day for a reason. I mean,
Yeah.
God knows how He
Yes.
created us. It's absolutely a reason. I love the idea that you're saying. I mean, sometimes it's a rest to recover, but a lot of people say no. The rest should springboard you into the week,
Mm-hmm.
because I think God wants us to work very hard and be very productive,
Mm-hmm.
for His kingdom here on earth. But He knows that we need that rest day. And you're so right. You mentioned Brandon Turner. So they had somebody on the Bigger Pockets podcast that wrote a really good book, and I can't think of his name right now, but he
Is
was
it
saying how you
Nure?
can't
Yeah.
maybe, but the point was he said you cannot come up with anything new unless you're bored. He said you have to have enough space
Yeah.
because like you, Austin, you're hard charging, you're constantly thinking about these deals. As long as you're thinking about that stuff, how could you come up with just a brand new thought? But
Yep.
if you take enough time to rest and you're sitting there on a Sunday, kind of bored, that's when a new thought could come in and go, hey, what if I actually transition my business and do something a little bit differently? But you cannot have those thoughts if you're hard charging because you're just in the moment. You've got so much to think about. You can't let a new thought come in. So yeah, I think that's really important. And yeah, you got to be. I'm liking you talking about this because once you design your life, now that I'm like doing this full time, making my own schedule, like I think I'm gonna have to build stuff in. I'm like you. I want a hard charge. There's always more
Yeah.
to do, right? Like there's always something I can do, and you almost have to like build that space in. And for us, that's Sabbath day. We're pretty good about that on site. But
Yeah.
I think you got to
I
make sure
was
you
I
make that.
was reading this morning, and he said, too many people are living a life to survive instead of actually living. Right? They're just trying to get to the
Yeah,
next day. I tell you what,
sure.
if you haven't read it, Game Changer book from a
Okay.
I kind of cover all the religions. Like I'm cool with all of them, and I kind of like take everything in, and I have my own beliefs. But he was a big preacher in Dallas, and he wrote a book called "It Changed My Life," called the ruthless elimination of hurry. And
Oh, okay.
what he said is, he said, when God made earth, wind, and fire and all that shit, he said on the seventh day he didn't say, and he worked again. He said that doesn't work that way. But we think, right, and this is what I coach a lot of young kids, and one thing I tell them, this is my favorite thing to do with them, I mess with them all the time. I said,
Uh-huh.
you're 23. I said, you have like 65 years. Where are you trying to get? What's going on here? Like
Yeah.
if you live your life on legacy instead of what you made in a year, then you don't have to rush anywhere.
Yeah.
And and when you reframe it and you stick it in that box, right? And more importantly, when you make your why so big and it revolves around what you can do for other people, then if you create wealth for them, I would imagine that your wealth is going to be even greater, right? I think
For sure.
people need to get
Yep.
out of their own way sometimes and understand that if you're struggling or you're stuck or you can't seem to break through that wall, do something for somebody else, and I promise you something will snap loose inside of you, and you can
Yeah.
keep going on your way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that about real estate. Also, I don't know what your experience has been, but
Mm-hmm.
it's a great community of people that are genuinely interested in helping others. And because it is a team sport, like so many people say, so typically it really helps to partner and have people working with you. So the more you can do that, yeah, it definitely ends up benefiting you. you help somebody else, there's going to be a way they're able to help you, or just that relationship, they introduce you to somebody. Yeah, the more you can do for others is definitely.
So I don't want to discredit, because I could talk about mindset and lifestyle, the whole thing. But I in the last couple of minutes here, I want to add some value to the investors out here, because a lot of my guys are newer. You did a flip. Mm-hmm. You said this is great, but it's not a really investment. It's a transactional flip and get out.
Yep.
Did you buy single families in there, or how did you jump all the way to 16 unit already? Like, was there fear? Like, did you just say we're just going to do it? Like, kind of walk us through that whole scenario.
Yeah. Well, when I was still at the corporate job, Red Rich Dad Poor Dad, started listening to everything, getting on all the podcasts like so many guys and girls do. Okay, it already felt like to me, I think very early on, maybe even before I did the flip, I'm listening to some of these guys. They're like, it's multifamily, man. Like, go bigger. You can go bigger than you think you can. You can do it faster. And so many people would be like, they'd ask them, if you could go back and tell your 25-year-old self something today, what would you say? And they're like, man, I would have said, like, go bigger, faster. And so I always had that in my mind. So I knew I wanted to go multifamily. I'm not a good manager. I knew I didn't want to be a landlord. I did kind of ride around.
So you were driving around, you said?
So I talked about the flip that I bought. Mm-hmm. You were kind of asking how I scaled. So I don't know where you lost me. When I was at
So how you basically decided to forego single families and just boom, bought a 16 unit just like that?
Yeah. Well, I think so when I started learning about real estate, so many people I was listening to were saying, if they could go back and talk to their younger self when they were just getting started in real estate, what would they tell themselves? And so many of them said, I would have went bigger faster. And they said, everybody thinks they can't go big fast, and you really can. And so I already had that in my mind, and I knew I really didn't want to be a landlord. I didn't want to manage residents and stuff. I kind of job shadowed a couple of guys in my town that owned a bunch of units, and they had, boxes of keys in their car, and they're managing all these properties, and they're going around and they're the landlord for all of them. And it was, I just knew I didn't want to do that. So I still kind of had that limiting mindset. So I thought, well, I got to start small. My wife and I were also kind of worried about like finances. We didn't have a ton of money or anything. So we did decide to start small and flip the house. But, you kind of mentioned it before, but just realizing very quickly, it's just a job. And I had just left a busy corporate job. And when we were doing the flip, so I took a whole year of just doing home health physical therapy, very laid back job. My wife loved it. Great for the family. I was bored out of my mind. I wanted to get into real estate. Once I did the flip, it was just like I was back in the corporate space. So busy, stressed out, right? Like tons of time. So my wife, I was selling my wife on this real estate dream, this lifestyle dream like you talk about. And we're doing the flip. She's like, yeah, this isn't it. This isn't what you told me about. Like this is like, you might as well be back at your corporate job. This is no fun. So that cured us of that pretty quick that, yeah, we didn't want to do that. So still we kind of want to go small. So we did a duplex next. We did kind of flip that property. We rehab both sides, but we got it rented. And it's just such a small example, but it's kind of that proof of concept where, each month we had great residents in our hometown. They were right down the road. I did manage it myself. And they paid us every month. They didn't ask us for much. And you just get that little taste of that passive income and like, okay, this could be sustainable. And again, because of the market, because I wanted to go bigger, I sold that, made a good profit and rolled that in. But really a big part of the answer to your question, Austin, is I got part of the local RIA, the Real Estate Investment Association of Cincinnati, where I live. And they had a focus group for apartment syndication. And that's where I kind of found a mentor. The guy running that focus group was, he showed us how to kind of start underwriting deals. I mean, I basically had a concept of it already, but it just gave me a lot more confidence. And then I jump online. I mean, LoopNet, some of these where they say, where deals go to die. And I'm like, well, that's probably where I'll be able to get one because I'm not going to compete with these other guys. So they're, hey, LoopNet's where all the deals that all the, the good investors passed on. Okay, well, those are the ones that I'm going to be able to get then. Mm-hmm. So just started underwriting those deals, calling some brokers. Eventually found one that was that I really kind of did like. And something like, just give you an example, I think they wanted $440 for it, and I offered $350. And they were trying to sell it for like a year and a half, had it under contract a couple different times, and they ended up finally agreeing to my price. So That's really what it's about. I got a mentor that made me feel confident, underwrote deals, found one, made an offer, stuck to my price, and got it. And all of a sudden, here I am with the 16 unit, like just blew my mind.
So there's so much there, and I could hit on 7 different things, and I will hit on a couple things. But what I find has to be interesting is we all go. This conversation keeps going back to the same thing. I have a million friends that make 30, 60, 100K off some wholesales. And if you're not comfortable in who you are, that can mess with you. Like, I'm going to go do that. Like, you know, you're like a dog when they let you out of the cage. You're like, I'm going to go over there. I'm going to go do this, you know. But you have something that works. You can see it in your brain. And then you win a route that other people said, don't go there. And the reason I say that is I have a friend, Nick. I'm not going to say his last name because I'm going to screw it up. But he's in the Jake and Gino group, and they have like 600 or like 800 units, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason he has those units is because he went to enough meetups and everybody said, don't buy apartments in Austin. You can't find a deal. Don't buy apartments in LA. You can't find a deal. And where do they buy the deals? Austin and LA. Because he said, well, if nobody's looking, well, then I'm going to do it, right?
Yep.
And to your offer point, I interviewed a guy he's an off-market specialist. He sold a $60 million deal on his first deal. He sold a $132 million deal last year, right? And you know how he does it? He finds their email and he doesn't even write anything else. He goes, if I gave you $6 million, would you sell this? And they normally send a message back saying, you're out of your mind. This baby's worth 18. And he goes, well, what if I offered you 16? And so now you've got a price out of them without doing it. And that's how he got the first $60 million deal. And I'm like, what? And so my buddy's been using it, one of my coaching clients, and he's got a guy that talked to him for the first time. He's been trying to get a hold of him for 2 years. And now he might sell the deal. So, you know, understand that if you go in with the right mindset and you're always optimistic if something good, what if, right? What I always tell everybody, what if something good happens? You never know. And maybe that offer you made, they would have said, screw you. But maybe a year from now, they would have said yes. Yep. And so you have to keep that dialogue open at all times.
Yep. Yeah. If you don't make offers, you can't buy anything. You know, if you don't underwrite, then you won't know what offer to make. And a lot of people will say that, like, fall in love with the process. Just keep doing the process. Something will break loose. But if you're not out there, you mentioned Brandon Turner, and I love that he always says, people will come to him and like, well, I haven't bought any deals. Oh, well, how many offers did you make? Well, it made a couple. Well, how many deals did you underwrite? Well, I didn't underwrite any deals. Well, how could you ever buy a property if you're not underwriting deals? You can't even make an offer if you're not underwriting, and you can't get one if you're not making offers. So you got to start doing those things. You won't ever get a deal.
I had a guy call me I met on the golf course about a year ago. I don't even remember who he was, but I knew he wanted to get in real estate. I kind of remembered him after he called me, and he went on for like 10 minutes about like, well, I mean, it's this property and it's this, and he's like, what if I offered like a low ball and I did like 30 grand? And I was like, well, have you made an offer yet? And he goes, no. And I said, then what are we doing? You've created 7 different scenarios and you haven't even got an answer from them. You don't even have an offer in. So, be careful when you reach out to somebody, like make sure that you've done your homework, like underwriting and stuff. And I'm about to do a podcast rant on presenting offers to investors. Like, I don't think people understand that you have to, I just interviewed one of my friends yesterday, and the first wholesale she ever did, she went online and she got, like the window people and the foundation people give you like, hey, if you use our company, you get a free thing. Well, she used all the companies that would do free, and then she went back to the seller and showed her the work, gave her the reports, got 20 grand off, and sold the property in a day for the price that the lady sold it to her. And she made 15 grand. She was a stay-at-home mom, but she did the work ahead of time to show the seller like, this is what it's going to cost. Like, do you want to do this? No, the seller inherited the property. I don't want to do that. And guess how much she paid? Nothing, because they did it for free. So, Google.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, no excuses, man. Yeah, that's awesome.
100%. Well, dude, I appreciate you so much. If people want to find out about you, if people want to get in contact, how do they find you?
Yeah, we've got a website. Jump on our website, Threefold REI, like realestateinvesting.com. I do a podcast as well. We focus on real estate, faith, and family, and it's a lot like you, Austin. The idea is, hey, real estate to me is a great vehicle to build wealth. I love it. I'm passionate about it. So I bring people on the show, interview people that are also passionate about it. But then to me, it's like, okay, but why are we doing this, right? Like, for me, it's my faith, being a Christ follower, trying to live for God and my family. So we got to keep that in perspective. Like, how are we building a real estate business and building our life so that we can, keep our priorities straight? So come check out the podcast. If you want to email me, it's info at threefoldrei.com. Love to hear from anybody.
No, I love it. And I want to leave for this because that point makes me think about something I said to one of my coaching clients this morning. He goes, why would I read that book? Like, I already talked to myself positively. And I said, well, you're not reading the book for you. You're reading the book for all the people that you're going to help to understand where they're coming from. And I think in life, like, when I got sober, right? Like, I didn't need to go around like pecking at people and saying like, you should be sober. But like me just living my life and intention and who I am has allowed other people to feel strong enough to get sober. And I think, understand that maybe not everything's for you, but by leading by example for your kids, right? They have a father, and if it was me, like when I have kids, like they're going to be buying real estate at like 3 years old. I'm going to be like, we're going to have you set up by like 18, because like we know what we know now. And it's like, dude, you can do it just like that.
Yep. They've got such a long time horizon. They can sit there and wait.
Yeah, dude, you get just the compound interest on those properties. You'll be good.
Absolutely. Yep.
I appreciate it so much, guys. If you like this episode, make sure you send it with your friends, guys. And we appreciate y'all for listening.
Thank you for listening to Construct Your Life with Austin Linney. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and pay it forward by sharing with a friend. Most importantly, take this opportunity to start constructing your life by taking immediate action on what you learned. For show notes, resources, and more information on one-on-one coaching with Austin, visit constructyourlifepodcast.com.